Vacations. Where dreams go to die, sunscreen becomes regret, and GPS turns evil. 1. The selfie cliff catastrophe. A tourist in India climbed over a safety rail for the perfect selfie with the sunset. She got the picture. Mid-fall, her phone survived the drop better than her dignity. Park officials now post signs that basically say, "Your Instagram isn't worth gravity." Somewhere, a smartphone rests at the bottom of a gorge, still capturing the ultimate candid, human overconfidence in 4K. 2. The GPS that tried murder. A couple in Death Valley decided to trust their GPS instead of common sense. The app told them there was a shortcut through the desert. It wasn't. 3 hours later, their scenic detour turned into a survival documentary. They were rescued, dehydrated, but alive, swearing they'd sue Google Maps for emotional damage. The real culprit? Their belief that Wi-Fi works where nature wants you dead. 3. The cruise ship sprinter. A woman in Italy missed her cruise ship by 3 minutes. Instead of accepting defeat like a normal person, she tried to chase the ship, on foot, down the dock, screaming for the captain to reverse. She made international news for her meltdown. The video shows her waving her passport like it's a magic wand. Spoiler, the ship didn't turn around, but the internet sure did. Millions watched her become the patron saint of bad timing. 4. The volcano hiker who packed for a picnic. There's adventurous. And then there's volcanic stupid. A man in Indonesia ignored every warning sign and decided to climb Mount Bromo during an active eruption. Why? It looked pretty on Google. He brought flip-flops, a selfie stick, and a sandwich. Halfway up, the ash cloud turned day into night, and he started live streaming his panic instead of, running. Rescuers found him coated in soot like a rejected chimney sweep, clutching his phone, mumbling. The signal was still good. The volcano remains undefeated, with a 100% success rate against influencers. 5. The Airbnb that wasn't there. A couple from the UK booked a charming coastal villa in Croatia with ocean views and private beach access. The photos were stunning, mainly because they were stolen from a Hilton resort website. When they arrived, their villa turned out to be a half-built concrete skeleton with a tarp for a roof and a goat living inside. The host, when confronted, said, "It's rustic minimalism." They spent the night at a gas station and posted the world's saddest review. Would not recommend. Goat unfriendly. 6. The airport nap that turned into a vacation. A man in Chicago had a 4-hour layover and decided to take a quick nap in a quiet corner of the terminal. When he woke up, it was 3 days later. Security found him using his backpack as a pillow, surrounded by empty vending machine wrappers. He'd somehow slept through 2 flight announcements, 1 terminal cleaning and 0 personal responsibility. When asked why no one woke him, an employee said, "We thought he worked here." He eventually flew home, first class, courtesy of pure pity. 7. The jet ski to freedom. A British tourist in Spain got drunk and decided to ride a rented jet ski just a little further to see what was on the horizon. 6 hours later, he was rescued by the Moroccan Coast Guard. He'd accidentally crossed an international border. His jet ski ran out of fuel 10 miles off the coast, and his passport was still in his hotel room. When interviewed later, he said, "I just followed the seagulls," which is basically how Darwin writes new chapters. 8. The camper who forgot tents. Exist 2 friends from Arizona decided to reconnect with nature. They bought hiking boots, trail mix, and an $800 drone to film their epic journey. What they didn't bring was a tent. Their logic: we'll sleep under the stars. Unfortunately, the stars were accompanied by desert scorpions and a surprise thunderstorm. The morning after looked like a deleted scene from Survivor Idiot Edition. They tried drying their gear with a lighter and nearly set the cactus on fire. When park rangers found them, one said, "You boys camping or auditioning for natural selection?" 9. The beach wedding that floated away. A couple in Florida decided their sunset beach wedding would be extra magical if held right at the waterline. The tide disagreed. 10 minutes into the ceremony, a rogue wave washed away the arch, half the chairs, and Uncle Steve's shoes. Guests started sprinting while the officiant tried to hold onto his Bible like it was a flotation device. The bride screamed, "It's okay, it's just water," as her $3,000 dress turned into a saltwater mop. The photos are stunning, mostly because everyone looks like they're running from God's sprinkler system. 10. The camper van. The couldn't a family from Kansas rented a vintage camper van for their big road trip of freedom. Problem: the van had no brakes. They found out the hard way on a mountain road in Colorado when Dad yelled, "It's fine, I'll downshift." The result was 2 miles of screaming, honking, and a crash, landing into a souvenir shop that ironically sold mugs saying "Adventure awaits." No one was hurt, except their dignity and the store's Elvis bobblehead collection. When the insurance asked for an incident description, Dad simply wrote, "The mountain fought back." 11. The cruise buffet breakdown. Cruises promise unlimited food, but one woman in the Caribbean took that as a personal challenge. After her 9th trip to the Shrimp Tower, she demanded to speak to management because they had run out of cocktail sauce. She caused such a scene that the captain had to intervene. Witnesses say she shouted, "You can't call it all you can eat if it's not all I can eat." The captain calmly replied, "Ma'am, this is a ship, not a shrimp. Mine." She left in protest and spent the rest of the cruise boycotting seafood, while everyone else boycotted sitting near her. 12. The tourist who mistook a bear for a dog. In Alaska, a tourist spotted a big fluffy dog near a garbage bin and decided to pet it for a TikTok video. Spoiler, it was not a dog. It was a full-grown black bear with no interest in internet fame. The tourist's friends filmed his slow realization as the dog stood up on 2 legs. He screamed, dropped his phone, and sprinted faster than human evolution intended. Thankfully, the bear was too busy eating trash to care. His video went viral, and his caption summed it up perfectly. 1010 would not recommend petting wilderness. 13. The parachute. That was actually a backpack. A tourist in New Zealand signed up for a solo skydiving experience. When asked if he'd ever jumped before, he said, "I've watched a lot of YouTube." That should have been the first red flag. Luckily, the instructors double-checked his gear right before the jump, because the man had accidentally strapped on his regular backpack instead of the parachute. Inside, a water bottle, sunscreen, and a half-eaten sandwich. When confronted, he said, "I thought it felt light." Yeah, because it wasn't designed to save your life. It was designed to hold snacks. Moral of the story: if you can't tell the difference between a parachute and a backpack, maybe stick to trampolines. 14. The tourist who ordered a taxi to the wrong country. A businessman in Europe landed in Geneva, Switzerland, and asked his driver to take him to Lausanne. You know, the one by the ocean. The driver, assuming he meant Lausanne, France, obliged. 3 hours and $200 later, the man realized his mistake when he saw the English Channel instead of Lake Geneva. Furious, he demanded the driver fix it immediately. The driver calmly replied, "Sir, unless your hotel is amphibious, it'll take another 3 hours." The man's review of the taxi company was 1 star. Too fast, too French, too much ocean. 15. The souvenir hunter who stole ancient history. A woman in Italy thought it'd be cute to pocket a few small stones from Pompeii as a souvenir. 2 years later, she mailed them back, along with a confession letter claiming they'd cursed her life. She blamed the stolen rocks for her divorce, a car crash, and a chronic case of bad hair days. Archaeologists weren't surprised. It happens so often they have a whole cursed artifacts return section at the museum. Somewhere, the ghost of a Roman guard is whispering, "Next time, buy a keychain." 16. The man who tried to canoe the Atlantic. A 65-year-old man in Portugal decided he didn't need a plane ticket to America, just a strong arm and blind optimism. He packed canned beans, a tent, and a radio, and launched his canoe into the Atlantic Ocean. He made it 20 miles before realizing waves are not just bigger ripples. After capsizing twice, he radioed for help and was rescued by a cargo ship crew, who found him trying to bail out his canoe with a shoe. When asked what his plan had been, he said, "Just paddle west until I hit Florida." He was only off by about 3 hours 800 miles. 17. The resort guest who started a fire with a margarita. At a luxury resort in Mexico, a guest decided to make a DIY sun reflector to tan faster. She poured tequila on herself, claiming it helps absorb sunlight, and then fell asleep by the pool. The alcohol ignited under direct sunlight, setting her lounge chair on fire. Staff rushed over with towels while she screamed, "It's supposed to glow, not burn!" The resort had to close the pool area for cleaning and added a new safety rule: do not marinate yourself in cocktails. Honestly, the only thing more burned than her skin was her ego. 18. The hot springs chef. Somewhere in a national park full of very clear, do not touch the boiling earth signs, a group decided to make their vacation authentic by hard-boiling eggs in a geothermal vent. They brought a mesh bag, a timer, and absolutely zero respect for chemistry. The sulfur steam welded the shells to the whites, their shoes to the mud, and the smell to their soles. Rangers arrived to find them plating spa eggs on paper towels like a cooking show filmed in a volcano. Fines were issued. Pride was confiscated. The group spent the rest of the trip explaining to other tourists why their rental car smelled like dragon breath and shame. Lesson: if the ground is literally boiling, maybe let nature handle the catering. 19. The rental car that drank the wrong juice. A honeymoon in the Scottish Highlands, misty roads, cozy inns, romance, until the groom topped up their diesel rental with unleaded because green handles mean go. 5 miles later, the engine gave a death rattle and turned the honeymoon into a roadside picnic. The tow truck guy arrived with a look that said, "I rescue 3 of you a day." The couple spent their castle night in a service bay motel, Googling the phrase "Miss Fuel Insurance" while sharing a vending machine dinner. For the rest of the trip, the bride did the fueling and the groom did the apologizing. Their souvenir? A receipt the length of a scarf and a very specific new allergy: gas pumps. 20. The all-inclusive forever wristband tattoo. A guy loved his Cancun resort so much, he got the plastic all-inclusive wristband tattooed on his arm. Same color, same barcode, same VIP letters, so he'd never lose access again. He returned the next year, rolled up his sleeve like Excalibur, and was promptly told, "Sir, this year's bands are purple." He tried to argue continuity. Management argued reality. He ended up wearing a fresh purple band next to a permanent yellow one that now reads like a caution label for life choices. Later, at the swim-up bar, a stranger asked if it really worked. He sighed, sipped his watered-down piña colada, and said, "It works as a conversation starter." And a warning. 21. The suitcase that took a cruise without you. On a Greek island hop, a couple posed for photos on the ferry deck, placing their suitcase just for a second on the railing. One gust later, it auditioned for Free Willy, flipping into the Aegean like a brave little torpedo. They watched their wardrobe bob toward Turkey while a crewman muttered, "Another Samsonite sailor." Customs forms were filed. The bride wore a gift shop sundress and flip-flops to a fancy dinner that promised elegant attire. The groom wore hotel slippers and confidence. Their vacation photos are stunning. Azure seas, whitewashed villages, and a tragic slideshow titled "Things We Used to Own." Pro tip: luggage should travel with you, not near you. 22. The monkey who stamped your passport in Bali. A tourist ignored the temple sign that basically said, "Monkeys will rob you." He laughed, pulled out his passport for a selfie, and a macaque yoinked it with the precision of a jewel thief. The monkey scampered up a shrine and leafed through the pages like TSA with a tail, then baptized it in a fountain. Volunteers tried banana diplomacy. The monkey demanded a bribe in the universal currency: snacks. Passport returned, gnawed, damp, and now scented like rainforest mischief. The embassy staff didn't even blink. "Happens all the time," they said, handing over a form labeled, "No joke, animal damage." 23. The Beach 4x4 that became a submarine. "Locals drive on the sand all the time," said a man who was not a local. He rented a beefy 4x4, ignored the tide chart, and cruised a hard-packed beach like a king. 10 minutes later, the sand turned to pudding and the ocean clocked in for work. Each wave nudged the bumper like a polite bouncer. Time to go. He tried rocking it. He tried flooring it. He tried manifesting traction with positive thoughts. The tow truck arrived just in time to retrieve a saltwater marinated SUV and a driver who had learned the difference between sandbar and sand trap. He posted the video as a PSA. Don't bring a car to a tide fight. 24. The tourist who followed the wrong group. At the Louvre, a woman accidentally joined a school field trip instead of her guided tour. She spent 2 hours nodding along to a French teacher explaining the Renaissance to 10-year-olds. When the class stopped for lunch, she still hadn't noticed. It wasn't until she was handed a juice box and told to sit quietly that she realized she'd been an unregistered 6th grader for half a day. The guide she actually paid for? Long gone. Her review: the kids were smarter than most adults I've traveled with. 5 stars. Would enroll again. 25. The man who tried to outrun a glacier. Somewhere in Iceland, a tourist ignored the "Do not walk on the glacier" sign because it's just frozen water. 5 minutes later, part of that frozen water moved. The man slipped into a crevasse, dropped his GoPro, and started screaming for help, all while live streaming. Rescue teams pulled him out hours later, frostbitten but very famous. His video title, "Fell into a glacier, still more stable than my marriage." The comment section did what nature couldn't, shredded him even harder. 26. The 5-star jungle survivalist. A luxury traveler in Costa Rica decided to skip the resort tour and explore off the beaten path. Armed with designer sandals, a $2,000 camera, and a coconut water, he got lost within 40 minutes. After calling for help, he used his phone battery to record a tearful farewell vlog. Rescue teams found him 3 hours later, 600 feet from the resort, visible from the pool bar. He still uploaded the footage, captioning it, "Survived the jungle. Somewhere, a sloth rolled its eyes." 27. The hotel room spa explosion. A honeymoon couple in Greece decided to DIY a spa night by filling the jacuzzi with bubble bath, champagne, and essential oils. What they didn't know, the hotel's hot tub had an industrial-strength jet system. Within minutes, their suite turned into a foam apocalypse. Bubbles poured into the hallway. Guests ran for towels. Housekeeping arrived to find them knee-deep in froth and shame. The bride said, "We wanted romance." The groom said, "We made laundry detergent." The hotel just added a new line to their guest manual, "Do not attempt chemistry." 28. The man who mistook a wildlife safari for a petting zoo. In South Africa, a tourist rolled down his Jeep window to get closer to a lion. His wife filmed the moment he called, "Here, kitty kitty," like he was summoning a house cat. The lion approached, calmly, confidently, and very much like the king of carnivores. The driver screamed, the tourist panicked, and the lion gave him the ultimate tourist souvenir, a shredded hat and a new respect for the food chain. His wife uploaded the clip with the caption, "Marriage status, single soon." The safari guide's closing words, "Nature doesn't need subtitles, just distance." Vacations, proof that humans can spend thousands just to outsmart themselves. Which disaster wins the prize for most likely to get banned from Expedia? Drop your vote in the comments. And remember, adventure's fun until it's documented.